Hello, welcome to the first studio snack of 2024. I'm Lydia Thornley, designer, creative director and sketcher.
And I'm Narcís Sauleda, brand designer and creative from January to December.
And for January we have a New Year-ish resolution, Veganuary.
Oh, yes. Can we still say Happy New Year?
I think we can just about.
Yeah, Happy New Year, everyone. I'm assuming that you've done some nerdery on that.
Yeah, I have. Somehow I expected this one to be really serious, but it's been a lot livelier than I thought. So, the Vegan Society was founded in 1944, but people choosing to avoid animal products can be traced back 2,000 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Pythagoras is said to have been vegan, but though we knew he knew his way around a triangle, pretty much everything about his life seems to have been hotly debated, so his food preferences are anybody's guess, really. Information on famous vegans seems to be pretty unreliable generally, so hurrah for vegan app Happy Cows Rundown, colour-coded even, which shows which are vegan, veggie and which is a rumour. And Veganuary published a list of accidentally vegan foods, which I love, including, small drum roll, bourbon biscuits.
Wow.
Yes. I particularly love this one. Beef and tomato and southern fried chicken pot noodle. I am not making this up.
Right, how does this work?
Walker's prawn cocktail crisps.
Okay.
And prawn cocktail Wotsits.
Okay.
There are cultures that are just by default big on plant-based food. There's falafel, there's the Jamaican Rastafarian movement, Eritrean, Ethiopian, and in India, Hindu, Jain and Buddhist foods are big on vegan options. Even supermarket-owned brands have got in on the act with their own vegan products. And of course, there is the cult UK snack, the Greggs vegan sausage roll.
Classic.
And there are a lot of independent vegan brands out there. Narcissus, you found some local ones here in East London, didn't you?
Yes, walking in around Walthamstow, I managed to find two mainstream vegan brands, All Plants and Minor Figures. And also very close to us in Hackney, we have the boys from Bosch, which they run Bosch TV, a really good website with vegan recipes, and they also do some food for supermarkets and coffee shops. But they also really famous UK brands in general. Linda McCartney, which they're very famous for the sausages, everyone talks about them, and the brand This, which is designed by Johnson Banks agency. And I like the brand because it's kind of plays with the word this is not chicken, this is not a beef burger, which they're really not.
I think what's really interesting about the intentionally vegan products is that they divide up into things that start with plants and things offering alternatives to meat-based meals. And that carries all the way through to design, how these projects are branded, packaged and marketed, but it also sparks debate around ultra-processed foods. Narcissus, you've tried a recipe that mimics smoked salmon, haven't you?
Yes, this is a really fun recipe that doesn't really mimic salmon because really it's a carrot. But basically what happens is you put the carrot in the oven and at a slow temperature, and then you cut it very thinly, and then you put a little bit of chem powder, a bit of lemon, salt and pepper, and that kind of makes that flavor of salmonish. And visually looks really fun, and I think the recipe is really creative, and it's very natural as well. And this kind of prompted the idea of our experiment. So we tried two recipes. I tried the steak bake.
And the other is a small change to a veggie samosa to make it a vegan burrito samosa. And I tried the samosa, which was a mix of cooking from scratch and using ready-made ingredients. There were some ingredients I don't associate with samosas, for instance rice and cheese, so for me it was a samosa-shaped burrito. And I thought the adaptation and combination and repurposing were interesting, and those, of course, have parallels with design. But out of interest, I looked up a samosa recipe in my Madhur Jaffrey Indian cookbook, and it was vegan by default, all cooked from scratch. The only thing stopping me trying it out there and then was I don't have a deep fat fryer. So for design, that raises a question of whether we always need to redesign things.
That's a great point, actually. So for the steak bake, it was a little bit better representation because it kind of looked and sort of taste as a steak bake. The recipe adds a lot of meaty flavors like umami tastes, like balsamic vinegar or miso paste, which makes the flavors a lot more in depth. I used this as in the brand, not something that I'm showing you here. I use this. This is not a beef burger, and personally, I think that was the downfall, because I think you could use mushroom or any other meaty vegetable, and with adding all these other umami tastes would have actually worked as well. That would be my only criticism. But I would go back to the question if we have to redesign meat or we have to redesign cheese as well, because so far I haven't really tried very good ones. And I think using mushroom, for example, instead of meat, or a carrot instead of a salmon, is a lot more healthier than the ultra processed, and also it's a little bit more creative and more fun.
I think also for both of us, we're both used to cooking from scratch. And if you've got some ingredients that are ready-made, it doesn't give you any control over the recipe. We're used to adapting things as we go along, and perhaps it would be better tried out by somebody who's reassured by having something that's ready-made. It's something that they haven't got to prepare.
Yeah.
So what else does this bring us for our design practice? Well, I think there are times when we do need to swap things in. For instance, in a brand identity alongside the main font, we choose fonts that everybody has and can use, because it's good for consistency. And I also wonder if packaging has caught up with the planet-friendly ethos of veganism. As designers, could we do more to specify responsible materials and encourage people not to litter or put cool reuses onto packaging? It's great to see Notpla opening up conversations and possibilities around that.
That's actually a good point. Coherence with the design and how it should be all integrated. And I think we should be able as well to brand veganism to something a little bit more interesting for people who maybe sees veganism as a little bit hippie movement.
Or perhaps hippie will have another moment.
Maybe.
Thank you for listening. Join us next month for another studio snack. Bourbon?
Please.
Always our favourite studio biscuit.